Hello, my name is Caitlin McCormick and I'm currently a sophomore at UNCW studying psychology with a minor in education. I'm here today to talk about the prevalence of the easily diagnosed mental health disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, that has been begun getting diagnosed more and more throughout our elementary educational system. Through personal experience and further research, I've decided to talk about the prevalence of this mental health disorder, as well as the ways in which our educational system can learn to empower rather than change or control students that are labeled with ADHD. I will also be looking at possible reasons for why ADHD has become such a prevalent diagnosis. To further explain, the DSM-5 categorizes ADHD as a pattern of behavior present in multiple settings that can result in performance issues in school, educational, social, or work settings. While helping out in my field experience setting, I was introduced to around 4 to 5 students that have been diagnosed with medicated for ADHD. I found this quite interesting due to the fact that there were only 20 or so students in the classroom to begin with, and that 4 of them were diagnosed, and that was just one classroom. I believe this to be important due to the fact that, as learned throughout outside research, ADHD is something that isn't a child's fault, but is also sometimes diagnosed way too early or way too easily. In our society, we often push for children to go to school and study at extremely young ages in which they are not able to fully concentrate, making it, of course, difficult for them to sit in a classroom setting for 6 to 8 hours with minimal breaks to run around. According to the authors of the journal article Prevalence Medication Treatment for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder Among Elementary School Children in Johnston County, North Carolina, it can be seen that 7,333 parents of children through the grades of 1st through 5th in 17 public elementary schools were asked if their children have ever been diagnosed with ADHD and whether they are currently taking medication. 83% responded and said 607 of their children, or 10%, have been diagnosed with ADHD, and 434, or 7%, have been receiving medication. Now, yes, these are statistics from one group of schools out of all the schools in the country, but it can be clearly seen that this issue is prevalent in our educational system, in our elementary schools. I feel as though this article gives a greater understanding of the prevalence of ADHD diagnosis in younger ages. I feel as though this article shows the importance of it because it actually shows real stats from real schools. Though 10% may not seem like a large percentage, that is a large amount when we are just focusing on one county from the entire country. As for ADD and ADHD alternatives in the classroom document, it can be seen that using different types of emotional strategies as well as cognitive strategies to possibly raise the spirits of children rather than bringing them down can be helpful. It can also be seen in the textbook by Springer that he often discusses children with disabilities, but more so focuses on disabilities that are more severe. I think that it gives the general overview of the hardships of the children that they experience, but it doesn't show all of it. Overall, I believe that there are sometimes students that have issues staying still and paying attention, but it's just because they're too young to be focusing that hard. We put so much pressure on children to be different but also be so uniform and the same when it comes to a school setting. I think that if we as a society use different techniques to make it easier for students that are hyperactive to stay in class without needing medication, but also learning the same, we will get the same results.